Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel. I'm MD physician. I'm not an endocrinologist. Today we'll be discussing on hyperaldosteronism. Meaning is very simple. Elevated level of aldosterone in blood, also called as aldosteronism. Maybe primary, maybe secondary. We'll be discussing in detail. So primary hyperaldosteronism, also called as Conn's disease, and secondary hyperaldosteronism. We'll be discussing under heading definition, etiology, pathophysiology, clinical features, investigations, treatment, complications. Mineralocorticoid, or also called as aldosterone, is the hormone synthesized and secreted by adrenal cortex, mainly zona glomerulosa. This particular hormone production will increase by adrenal gland, and if it is increased by adrenal gland, then we call that as primary hyperaldosteronism, and that is called Conn's disease. And if aldosterone production is increased secondary due to other than adrenal gland, which stimulates adrenal gland to manufacture aldosterone, or there is an externally the aldosterone level goes on increasing, then we call that as secondary hyperaldosteronism. So by definition, it occurs secondary due to some RAS system activation, and because of RAS system activation, aldosterone level goes on rising. And when it is secondary due to other causes like renal artery stenosis, etc., they become secondary hyperaldosteronism. So they are basically secondary. So primary, you can call them as adrenal hyperplasia, adrenal adenoma, adrenal carcinoma, or maybe familial hyperaldosteronism type 1, type 2. And good number of time you do not detect them on a clinical ground. Accidentally they are detected while doing some procedures or on a post-mortem, then it is called as an adrenal incidentaloma. So these are all the etiology of primary. Secondary etiology, yes, in primary it can be unilateral, it can be bilateral. So bilateral adenoma, bilateral adrenal hyperplasia, familial hyperaldosteronism, etc. So hyperaldosteronism can be primary, called Conn's disease, can be type 1, type 2 variety, while secondary can be because of many other causes. Primary, by and large, bilateral hyperplasia is almost in 60%. Adenoma is in 35%. So if you put this together, they become almost 95%. While unilateral is only in 2%. Malignancy is less than 1%. Ectopic aldosterone producing tumors are very, very rare. They are again less than 1%. And familial hyperaldosteronism, that is type 1, type 2, is less than 1%. So if you take this carcinoma, ectopic producing tumors, and familial variety, they will not be more than 2 to 3%. Majority of them are because of bilateral hyperplasia or adenoma. And all this together, they are called primary hyperaldosteronism, or also called as Conn's disease. And when it is not detected clinically or by routine investigation, good number of time it is not detected on routine investigations, then it is called as an adrenal incidentaloma. It will be detected by ultrasound or CT or MRI or on a PET scan or on postmortem. There is one another variety which is called as a glucocorticoid remediable aldosteronism, means which responds to glucocorticoid and you get control of aldosterone level. So that is called glucocorticoid remediable aldosteronism. Short form it is called GRA. So primary aldosteronism will be because of adrenal gland, but renin suppressed, or we call low renin level. That is all you will see in a primary. Means you will have a low renin, high aldosterone, classical. And we have told you hyperplasia and adenoma accounts for 95% of the group, and rest, that is carcinoma, familial variety, ectopic, etc., will be accounting for less than 5%. Secondary variety, or we call as a high renin or normal renin, maybe they are all extra adrenal, where it is renin secreting tumors, or because of renal artery stenosis, malignant hypertension. In this, you got a high secretion of renin because of decreased blood flow to the kidney, or you can have a syndrome called as a Bartter syndrome, Gitelman syndrome, or because of decreased extracellular volume, which will be very commonly seen in congestive heart failure, cirrhosis, nephrotic syndrome, etc., or person who are on diuretics, or person is on a aldosterone antagonist, so aldosterone level will be elevated, hypovolemia, dehydration. In cirrhosis also aldosterone level is elevated because the metabolism of aldosterone does not take place, so secondary there is an elevation of aldosterone level. Dehydration, you will have a decreased blood volume, so that will also elevate your renin production, and through RAS system there will be elevation of aldosterone. End-stage liver disease, and renal disease will also have a elevated level of aldosterone. During pregnancy, person on oral contraceptive pills and hyponatremia is also one of the cause of elevation of aldosterone. All this together comes into a secondary etiology, or we call it as extra adrenal causes, where renin level may be high or may be normal, and aldosterone level are elevated, and adrenal gland examination will be absolutely normal. So this I have already shown you before. So primary will be because of hyperplasia or adenoma accounting for 95%. Unilateral hyperplasia, carcinoma, ectopic producing tumors, and familial accounts for not more than 5%. So we have already told you all this variety. There are different names given to this primary hyperaldosteronism. Aldosterone producing adenoma is called APA. Primary adrenal hyperplasia is called PAH. Adrenal producing adrenocortical carcinoma can be there, which is less than 1%. Bilateral idiopathic hyperplasia is also called as a BAH or IHS. That is called idiopathic hyperplasia of adrenal gland. Familial hyperaldosteronism is called FH. Glucocorticoid remediable aldosteronism is called GRA. And familial variety is called type 1 and type 2. Type 2 is invariably what we call as IHA, that is idiopathic hyperplasia, or aldosterone producing adenomas. So these are all the different varieties, and these are the percentage what has been given. So we divide into two big groups, primary and secondary. We have already given in detail all the causes. There are some odd causes which can also have a high level of mineralocorticoids, like mutations. Cortisol cannot be converted to cortisone, and they activate mineralocorticoid receptors and producing hyperaldosteronism. In Cushing syndrome also you will have an excess of action of mineralocorticoid activity. Glucocorticoid resistance because of Glucocorticoid receptor mutation can also produce hyperaldosteronism. Adrenocortical carcinoma, then deficiency of these enzymes, cytochrome enzymes, can also produce in case of, yes, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Liddle syndromes also can have a excess of mineralocorticoid actions, etc. All these are what we call is a non-aldosterone mineralocorticoid excess. So in that particular condition, aldosterone level is not elevated, but because of excess of glucocorticoid level, which is acting at the mineralocorticoid receptor, having a mineralocorticoid activity, will produce identical like hyperaldosteronism. So they are called mimics. There is low renin, low aldosterone, but still there are all the symptom signs like hyperaldosteronism, and that we call as a mimics hyperaldosteronism, like Cushing syndrome, CAH, licorice consumption, Liddle syndromes, exogenous mineralocorticoids, etc., and congenital adrenal hyperplasia, CAH, also called as a pseudo hypoaldosteronism type 1. Liddle's is also called that hypoaldosteronism type 1, where aldosterone level is low, but clinically you have got elevated clinical features of aldosterone like hypertension, hypokalemia, low renin, low aldosterone, and salt sensitive hypertension. So this is one variety, Liddle syndrome. All these causes can result into similar pattern. This is another variety called as a Gordon syndrome, which is called type 2 variety. We don't go into detail. Pathology wise, it is very simple. In case of primary, very simple to explain. In case of a primary, irrespective of the etiology, whether it is adrenal hyperplasia or maybe unilateral, maybe bilateral, or maybe adenoma, or maybe adenocarcinoma, or ectopic production, or maybe because of cortisol sensitive, or maybe ectopic production of a cortisol level, or ectopic production of mineralocorticoid. In all those variety, there is elevated level of hyperaldosterone, so we call as a hyperaldosteronism, which is primary, or we call as a Conn's disease. Now, because of elevated level of aldosterone, it will have effect on distal convoluted tubule, giving rise to reabsorption of sodium and water. In exchange for sodium, potassium and H ion is thrown out, so resulting into hypokalemia and metabolic alkalosis. Because of retention of sodium and water, there is an increase in blood volume. Because of increase in blood volume, elevation of blood pressure by increasing in the cardiac output. So you will have a secondary hypertension, hypernatremia, hypokalemia, metabolic alkalosis. This will be together. This is characteristic of a primary variety in which now aldosterone will inhibit RAS system, and by inhibiting the RAS system, renin production will decrease. So you will have a low renin, high aldosterone, more in favor of primary variety. While in secondary variety, because of renal etiology or extra adrenal etiology, where there is increased RAS system activation, we have already mentioned all the etiology. In that, there is increased renin production. Renin will be acting via renin angiotensin cycle and will have increased production of aldosterone. So you have got a normal renin or high renin with increased aldosterone level, and other clinical picture remains same. Very commonly seen in case of end-stage liver disease, end-stage kidney disorders, renal artery stenosis, congestive heart failure, nephrotic syndromes, or person is taking aldosterone from outside, etc. All these conditions will give rise to what we call as a secondary hyperaldosteronism. So that will be the mechanism as far as secondary variety is concerned. So in a primary variety, there is an increased production of aldosterone, which will give rise to retention of sodium and water. Increase intravascular volume will inhibit renin. So you will have a low renin, high aldosterone, and increased level of sodium with hypokalemia and metabolic alkalosis. While in secondary, decreased intravascular volume will have increased level of renin, increased aldosterone production. So you will have usually high renin, high aldosterone, while this will be low renin, high aldosterone. So this becomes secondary, and because of increased aldosterone, sodium retention along with hypokalemia and metabolic alkalosis. So primary hyperaldosteronism, we have already told you, secreting tumors of adrenal gland, increase aldosterone, sodium retention, total sodium will increase, extracellular fluid will increase, blood pressure will be elevated, and that will inhibit renin. So you will have a low renin, high aldosterone in primary. And because of sodium escape phenomena, you will have a potassium being lost, and that will produce hypokalemia and metabolic alkalosis. H ion is also lost. So this is typical of primary. Maybe hyperplasia, maybe adenoma, or maybe rare cause like glucocorticoid excess. Glucocorticoid suppressible because of excess production of ACTH, which stimulates adrenal cortex to produce glucocorticoid as well as mineralocorticoid. Slight excess of mineralocorticoid, but major quantity of glucocorticoid, which has got similar action like mineralocorticoid, and this will be response to, this will give a very nice response to glucocorticoid inhibition. So that you will have a three combination: in primary low renin, high aldosterone; in secondary high renin, high aldosterone; and you will have also one another variety, low renin, low aldosterone with mineralocorticoid excess action. But this mineralocorticoid action is because of action of glucocorticoid, and that is non-aldosterone action. So this will be very peculiar, and this usually we call as a pseudo hypoaldosteronism. We skip this particular part. Cholesterol will be converted into aldosterone, also into cortisol, testosterone, and estradiol. Aldosterone is a powerful mineralocorticoid. Cortisol has got a minimal mineralocorticoid activity, and this is synthesized by zona glomerulosa. This is synthesized by zona fasciculata and reticularis. Also, these are called androgenic hormones, which are also synthesized in zona fasciculata and reticularis. So cholesterol will be converted into aldosterone, and mineralocorticoid action will be there by aldosterone. That is called mineralocorticoid activity. So aldosterone will have effect on distal convoluted tubule, increasing sodium and water reabsorption, and along with sodium and water reabsorption, potassium and H ion is thrown out, and that will lead to increased blood volume, elevation of blood pressure, and simultaneously potassium level will reduce, hypokalemia and metabolic alkalosis. So aldosterone can be also increased because of hyperkalemia or because of hyponatremia. So in these two conditions also there will be excess of production of aldosterone, and also in case of person who has got decreased renal perfusion, decreased blood volume. So aldosterone can be stimulated by hypovolemia, hypotension, decreased renal perfusion, say like renal artery stenosis, shock stage, even because of hyponatremia, hyperkalemia. So aldosterone will take part in regulation of blood volume, regulation of blood pressure, regulation of sodium balance, regulation of potassium balance, and also in case of acid-base balance. So lot of conditions will affect aldosterone secretion, and aldosterone will take part in regulation of those. So this will be the effect of aldosterone. We have already mentioned all those things. So you can go through your leisure time. This is a RAS system. We have already discussed in RAS system lecture. Also we have discussed in separately aldosterone. So we have explained you metabolic alkalosis is because of loss of H ions along with potassium, and because of that there is a reabsorption of bicarbonate leading to alkalosis, and it is metabolic alkalosis, not because of respiratory system. So action wise, we have already told you regulation of sodium balance, potassium balance, H ion balance, water balance, blood pressure, etc. And regulation of aldosterone secretion will be done by mainly RAS system, which will produce angiotensin 2, which will stimulate aldosterone secretion from zona glomerulosa. As far as potassium is concerned, hyperkalemia will stimulate the aldosterone production, and hypokalemia and ANP will inhibit aldosterone production. So hypokalemia and excess of ANP will inhibit that, while ACTH has no direct action. Indirectly, it stimulates. So we have already mentioned function of aldosterone: sodium balance, fluid balance, blood pressure, potassium, H ion balance. Also it has got effect on sweat gland, salivary gland, and also on intestines. We have already discussed this particular part also, that hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, hypovolemia, hypotension, and even stress can stimulate directly. This will be stimulating directly. This will be stimulating via kidney as well as directly. So aldosterone production can be directly stimulated even by hyponatremia and hyperkalemia, direct stimulating effect on zona glomerulosa, while via renin, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, hypovolemia, hypotension, decreased blood perfusion, etc. can increase renin production, and through RAS system increase renin production and will stimulate aldosterone production, while excess of stress will stimulate CRH from hypothalamus, which will increase ACTH production, and that ACTH will act on zona glomerulosa, producing excess of aldosterone. This particular variety will be responsive to cortisone inhibition, and you will get benefit. But in case of increased blood pressure and increased blood volume, ANP will be secreted, and that will inhibit directly adrenal cortex to decrease mineralocorticoid production, as well as it will also inhibit the production via acting at RAS system because of elevated blood pressure and elevated blood volume, and that will be acting via RAS system inhibition. So these two mechanisms will be acting at the level of kidney. So elevated blood pressure and blood volume will inhibit by acting at kidney level, juxtaglomerular apparatus level. So that is the entire action what can take place as far as aldosterone regulation is concerned. We have already told you that potassium level can directly act at adrenal zona glomerulosa and increase or decrease. Excess of potassium will inhibit aldosterone, because aldosterone now will produce, hypokalemia will inhibit aldosterone. So potassium loss will be inhibited, and hyperkalemia will stimulate aldosterone production. And opposite of that in sodium, excess of sodium will inhibit and hyponatremia will stimulate. So this will be the entire effect. So secretion of ANP, BNP and CNP will inhibit what we call as by inhibiting directly aldosterone, and that will be the way it will be acting. So these are all the different action for control of aldosterone. So I'm skipping over this. This is ANP action, how exactly it is acting. ANP will be acting at the hypothalamus level, kidney level, adrenal cortex level by inhibiting the aldosterone, and acting at the level of medulla also, and helping control of sodium balance, water balance and blood pressure and blood volume. Now there is something called as aldosterone escape. What is happening in aldosterone? Even after the aldosterone initially induces sodium and water retention, it is followed by few days by spontaneous diuresis. This spontaneous diuresis will lose water. So there will be no excess of extracellular fluid, and that is the reason why you don't get much amount of edema in hyperaldosteronism, and that is called aldosterone escape. So do remember, in a person with an increased production of aldosterone, you can have an aldosterone escape also, and partially there is a decrease in extracellular fluid volume, so it comes back towards normal. You don't have a hypo, but it will come towards normal. So if at all, if you have got a very mild edema, not severe edema. So these escape phenomena are very important because you will come across in three conditions. Increased secretion of ANP also will induce by hypervolemia. Decreased thiazide sensitive sodium chloride cotransporter can also produce this particular escape phenomena, and pressure natriuresis. These are the three mechanisms which are responsible for aldosterone escape phenomena, because as soon as the volume is increased, ANP will be secreted and that will produce diuresis. Also thiazide sensitive sodium chloride cotransporter will also have loss of water, and pressure natriuresis will also produce loss of water. These are all the things what can happen: increase aldosterone secretion, water and sodium retention, increase in extracellular fluid volume. So blood volume is increased, stroke volume is increased. So cardiac output multiplied by stroke volume. So cardiac output is increased, so blood pressure will be elevated. So we will have a blood pressure elevation, hypertension, increase in blood volume. Atrium is stretched, ANP will be secreted, which will inhibit the renin secretions. And so there will be less production of angiotensin and action of aldosterone will be inhibited. Now sodium and water retention will decrease, extracellular fluid volume will decrease, and there will be no edema. And this is how what we call as a aldosterone escape. No edema, very commonly seen with Conn syndrome. So that is because of ANP action we call as an escape phenomena. Do remember. This is blood osmolality. I have already discussed with aldosterone. So as soon as the blood osmolality and blood pressure falls, there will be low perfusion to what we call as juxtaglomerular apparatus. Renin will be produced. Angiotensinogen will be converted into aldosterone. Angiotensinogen will be converted into angiotensin 1, angiotensin 2, which will be act on what we call as a adrenal cortex, will release aldosterone, and that aldosterone will try to retain sodium and water, increasing your blood pressure as well as decreasing your increasing your blood osmolality by retaining sodium. So that is how it will try to regulate, increase water and salt reabsorption, and thus blood pressure is elevated as well as osmolality is also altered. This part we have discussed. Potassium, hyperkalemia, hypokalemia, and decreased extracellular volume stimulates, while opposite of that, hypokalemia, hypernatremia, and hypervolemia, even excess of blood pressure will inhibit juxtaglomerular apparatus, and that is how it will be acting. This portion already we have discussed. This is aldosterone excess. Whenever the person gets excess of aldosterone, which is stimulated by RAS system or ACTH, or because of hyperkalemia, hypovolemia, hypotension, congestive heart failure, post-surgical, etc., it will give rise to also excess of aldosterone, which will stimulate atrial fibrillation, LVH, cardiac remodeling. Because of cardiac remodeling, cardiomyopathy, fibrosis, heart failure will worsen, increase in peripheral vascular resistance because of increased vasoconstriction, secondary because of angiotensin 2 as well as direct effect of aldosterone, and that will produce resistant hypertension. All these are deleterious. Plus, it is going to produce hypokalemic metabolic alkalosis. So this will be a deleterious effect of aldosterone, inflammation, growth factor activation, extracellular matrix will be activated, cell proliferation resulting into glomerulosclerosis, tubulointerstitial fibrosis and renal scarring, and person will start developing CKD. Aldosterone can be stimulated by hyponatremia, angiotensin 2, dyslipidemia as well as hyperglycemia can be stimulated by those factors also. This is effect of aldosterone. We are not discussing in detail. Aldosterone and blood pressure regulation. These are all those deleterious effects we already mentioned. Sodium retention, hypertension, endothelial dysfunction, ventricular arrhythmia, as well as atrial arrhythmia like atrial fibrillation, potassium and magnesium loss, catecholamine potentiation, myocardial fibrosis, prothrombotic effects, inflammatory effects, and injury to the myocardium resulting into cardiomyopathy, acceleration of congestive heart failure, acceleration of atherosclerosis, etc. So in clinical features, hypertension is the most common, hypokalemic effects, lack of edema because of aldosterone escape, and metabolic alkalosis along with hypomagnesium and mild hypernatremia. All these are together. And potassium will have effect on skeletal muscle as well as cardiac muscle, and because of decrease non-specific effects, person might have polyuria and polydystia because of loss of water. Hypokalemia will have effect on skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle, and hypertension can produce complication, and this will be resistant hypertension, or we call secondary hypertension, quite common. So primary hyperaldosteronism, or also called renin independent, because renin is not responsible for excess production of aldosterone, it is because of adrenal gland. You will have hypertension, hypokalemia, which will produce muscle weakness, polyuria, polydystia, metabolic alkalosis, pedal edema is uncommon because of sodium escape, because of sodium release into urine, low renin level. So usually that is low renin, high aldosterone, and associated with hypernatremia, muscular weakness, fatigue, etc. And person will also have a polyuria, polydystia. So all those symptoms we have already mentioned. Hypertension will produce headache, muscle cramps and weakness will be because of hypokalemia, low potassium level, tingling, numbness, muscle spasm, fatigue. Secondary will produce secondary hypertension, headache, polyuria, muscle weakness. You can get hypokalemic tetany, paresthesia. Peripheral edema is more common with secondary because there is no escape phenomena in this particular. So peripheral edema in severe cases you come across, particularly congestive heart failure, cirrhosis, nephrotic syndrome. In all those you have got excess of extracellular fluid volume, and that will be producing peripheral edema. So symptoms remains almost same as that of primary. Common in both hypokalemia, metabolic alkalosis, and hypernatremia. Common. So hypokalemia, hypernatremia. In secondary variety, there is a high renin level. So you will have a high renin, high aldosterone. So that will be helping you to differentiate primary from secondary very easily. So secondary will be very easily differentiated by hypertension, little amount of peripheral edema, and also high renin, high aldosterone. So hypokalemia will be common in both. Hypernatremia will be more common in primary than secondary. Metabolic alkalosis will be common in both. Polyuria will be common in both. Edema is more common with secondary, less in primary. Diastolic hypertension is more with primary variety than secondary. Muscle weakness is common in both. So that will be mild difference, but very important. In primary, low renin, high aldosterone, while in secondary, high renin, high aldosterone. So primary, low renin, high aldosterone, secondary, high renin, high aldosterone. And if you get both low, more in favor of what we call as other than primary and secondary variety, we call pseudo variety. So always go for that. I skip over this difference. Aldosterone producing adenoma, adrenal hyperplasia, and low renin essential hypertension. Mild difference. We skip over that particular part. Now, whenever you come across a person with primary hyperaldosteronism, you suspect any person who has got a hypertension with hypokalemia, resistant hypertension, and on ultrasound you detect an adrenal tumor, and person who has got an incidentaloma plus hypertension, or you consider secondary hypertension. What you do is first rule out plasma renin activity and plasma aldosterone concentration. We have given you three combination. Decrease renin with increased plasma aldosterone, more in favor of primary. Both increased, plasma renin activity is increased and aldosterone level also increased, more in favor of secondary variety. More in favor of secondary variety. And then you investigate for renovascular hypertension, diuretic use, renin secreting tumors, malignant hypertension, coarctation of aorta, renal artery stenosis, etc. All those groups. Or you can look for what we call as other condition where you can have an elevated level of aldosterone with little elevation of renin level in case of congestive heart failure, end-stage liver disease, CKD, etc. But if both are low, renin level is low, aldosterone level is low, then you look for congenital adrenal hyperplasia, exogenous mineralocorticoid, or Cushing syndrome, or because of aldosterone resistance, Liddle syndrome, glucocorticoid resistance variety. In those particular group, your aldosterone as well as renin activity will be low. So that is called low renin, low aldosterone groups of disorders. While low renin, high aldosterone goes straight forward in favor of primary hyperaldosteronism, where you try to rule out adrenal gland hyperplasia, adenoma, those accounts for 95%, breast carcinoma, ectopic ACTH production, ectopic aldosterone productions, or familial primary hyperaldosteronism type 1 and type 2. Try to rule out those. And when you want to investigate for adrenal gland, go for adrenal CT scan. You can pick up adenomas, hyperplasia, etc. and you try to find out which side it is. Then you will have to take a renal vein sample and look for excess of renin level and excess of renin production through renal vein sample. So that will be the way you will be approaching. So these are the way you approach. So you will have to go for that renin level in right renal vein and left renal vein, and you have to compare the two and try to identify which side adenoma. This is CT scan. These are those particular tests which you can go for. You can also go for a dexamethasone suppression test to find out corticosteroid responsive variety. So I skip over all these things. This is what we call as adrenal vein sampling. So you try to catheterize the renal vein and go through adrenal vein and get the sample from right side as well as the left side and compare the two, and you compare aldosterone and renin ratio. So try to identify adrenaline and dose ratio. And you can also look for ACTH level to find out ACTH secreting tumors, because they are responsible for low renin, low aldosterone. I'm skipping over all this. At your leisure time, you can go through those particular, what we call as a flow charts, or we call algorithms, evaluation of hypokalemia. If person comes with hypokalemia with hypertension, how you differentiate right side, left side adrenal tumors by doing aldosterone renin ratio. These are all the different types of ratio what you can go for. Saline suppression test, adrenal vein sampling, 24-hour urine collections, and look for potassium, sodium, creatinine, aldosterone level in those. You try to rule out primary and secondary, whether it is unilateral, bilateral. And once you come to the diagnosis, aldactone is aldosterone antagonist, which is a medical therapy which you can utilize. There are other also amiloride and triamterene and epileron. In secondary variety, treat the basic cause. You require a lifestyle modification. You have to have an ideal body weight, exercise, smoking cessation, restrict alcohol consumption, sodium restriction, etc. will help. Usually aldosterone receptor antagonist is very easy, and they give a very good results in both lowering the blood pressure as well as decreasing the aldosterone action. And spironolactone and epileron is the best. You can go from 25 milligram to 50 milligram. You can go up to 400 milligram. The side effects of spironolactone is gynecomastia, impotence, and menstrual disturbances. Epileron is another drug which you can utilize. You can start with 25 milligram twice a day, and you can go up to 100 milligram per day. Familial variety type 1 will respond to oral glucocorticoids. So in that you can add oral glucocorticoids. So in a primary hyperaldosteronism, first is drugs, and then you can go for surgical treatment. And surgical treatment, first you have to lateralize and identify, and then go for a adrenalectomy. And if you cannot identify the site, you will have to go for only drug therapy. So spironolactone, in a case of a renal ischemia, ACE inhibitor should be contraindicated. So don't use ACE inhibitor in a person with renal artery stenosis. With a renal artery stenosis, first is angioplasty of that renal artery can be very, very useful. Sometimes potassium sparing diuretics are useful, like amiloride and triamterene can be useful, particularly in a secondary hyperaldosteronism. We have already told you that in adenoma, surgery is one of the another way of treatment. In case of carcinoma, along with surgery, radiotherapy and chemotherapy may be of some help. So medical therapy, surgical therapy will be of use in a case of primary adrenal tumors. In a pituitary tumors or hypothalamic tumors, you will have to go for, depending upon the type of a tumor, drug therapy, surgery, and surgery transsphenoidal approach, because why endoscope. And in case of malignant tumors, you will have to go for surgery with addition of radiotherapy. Laparoscopic adrenalectomy gives a good results. Potassium supplements can be given. Nursing responsibility, you give the material which is low in sodium and good in potassium. Avoid sodium, have a regular exercise, healthy diet, maintain weight, avoid smoking, avoid alcohol, avoid caffeine containing material. All this will be beneficial. So surgery is one of the treatment for adrenal gland tumors. Complications most common: hypokalemia, hypernatremia, secondary hypertension, resistant hypertension, hypertensive crisis, metabolic alkalosis, complication because of drugs what you are giving in treatment for control of hyperaldosteronisms. You can get hyperkalemia, gynecomastia. Sometimes you can develop AKI, etc. I end my lecture here. I hope this will be very helpful to you in your everyday practice. You will come across occasionally Conn syndrome, but secondary hyperaldosteronism you will see more common because of congestive heart failure, cirrhosis, nephrotic syndromes, etc.